Midoriya unlocks 100% of One For All, kind of. The battle between Nagant, Overhaul, and Deku comes to its thrilling conclusion, and the world is a hopeless, empty void that contains nothing but pain and suffering. Let's talk about all of this and more as we jump right into the newest chapter of My Hero Academia. So My Hero Academia Chapter 315 is finally out, and with it we get to witness the epic finale of lovely Lady Nagant's and baby boy Midoriya's phenomenal fight for freedom. And oh boy, is this one chock full of some insane twists and turns. I mean, Lady Nagant is just stealing the show. She's practically unstoppable.
Why would you do this to me, Horikoshi?
In this chapter, Deku fully reveals his new quirk Fa Jin, unleashing the full power of One For All. Both Midoriya and Nagant go plus ultra, Overhaul speaks, and we finally get to see which side comes out victorious from this battle of hero society. But before I begin talking about this chapter, I'm first going to go into a quick summary of what happened last time. And as usual, don't forget to Detroit smash that like button and slide into that subscribe button's DMs to hit that notification bell. In the last chapter, Midoriya and Lady Nagant took to the sky to continue their devastating duel of the fates. Midoriya grappled onto Lady Nagant's arm and, believing he had the upper hand, demanded that she tell him where All For One was hiding. But our swift sniper assassin simply informs our poor primitive protagonist that he ain't the #1 hot shit just yet, as she backhands him with her rifle and shoots him point blank. Wow, when Horikoshi said it was the beginning of the end of the series, he meant it. Or at least this would have been the end if not for plot armor. Midoriya somehow manages to narrowly avoid Nagant's point blank shot, but his back is quickly put against a wall as he comes under fire from a barrage of rapid fire bullets. With Midoriya now on the ropes, Nagant decides it's high time to tell this strange teenage boy in the midst of puberty her life story, and so she proceeds to spend the next 20 minutes expositing to Midoriya. Nagant reveals that the Public Hero Safety Commission isn't as heroic as they seem, as they have murdered and disposed of anyone who is seen as a potential threat to hero society. Nagant's role in the commission was to quite literally be their loaded gun, and she has killed countless heroes and villains alike, Mortal Kombat style might I add, all in the name of justice. However, after a traumatic encounter with some of her younger fans, she decided that enough was enough, and so she turned against the commission and, in a tragic turn of events, was forced to kill the commission's president. Hearing this terrifying and tragic truth about Nagant's life and of the dark underbelly of hero society, Midoriya says, "Cool story, bro," and so he proceeds to charge the trauma-riddled PTSD-suffering war hero. In reaction to this, Nagant decides that she's going to show Midoriya the truth in being a hero, and the chapter ends with our loaded gun assassin aiming her rifle at the unarmed Overhaul, unarmed, who has just made his presence known to Midoriya. And this is where chapter 315 picks up. This chapter opens up with a quick flashback to Overhaul and Nagant right after their conversation with Lord Big Ball Bubblehead himself, All For One. The two villains are in the midst of changing clothes and getting ready to go after Deku, when Overhaul tells Lady Nagant that he knows exactly who Deku is and what he looks like, as he's the very hero who ruined the one-time mob boss's evil plans. I mean, to be honest, how could Overhaul ever forget Midoriya's face after a beatdown like this? Hearing this, Nagant laughs about how it must be fate that her and Overhaul have crossed paths, and she tells the harmless Overhaul that he will accompany her on her mission so he can identify her target. And Overhaul agrees to join her on one condition: that she will take him to the boss after all of it's done. Now, this little scene is actually a really great character moment for both Nagant and Overhaul. Nagant could easily just force Overhaul to work with her in this situation. He's defenseless, and there is no one around to stop her from doing ungodly things to him to get information out of him. And from what we've seen from her past, I'm sure she has done much worse than just torture a man for info. But in seeing the weakened and broken Chisaki, she instead decides that she will help after all of this is done. showing us once again that she's really not a villain at heart. She's just a victim of society. And as for Overhaul, the thought of getting revenge on Midoriya means nothing to him. He even says that he doesn't care about old grudges or revenge. He just wants to see the only thing he has left, his old man. Which really helps highlight just how important his adoptive father is to him. This whole scene is only 2 pages, but within those 2 pages, we can almost immediately get a grasp on both Overhaul and Nagant's ideology, morality, and desires, which is top-notch storytelling on Horikoshi's part. But anyway, the story then cuts to the present, where we see Overhaul on a building rooftop screaming at Nagant to hurry up and bring him to the boss, because he has already fulfilled his part of the deal. Unfazed by her partner's echoing harassment, our sweet lovely lady decides it's high time to kick it up a notch, and she puts her quirk into overdrive, turning her rifle into some Resident Evil looking ass bioweapon, which, as she notes, drastically increases the speed and power of her bullets. But it does come at the cost that it could potentially jam her rifle. With this new super-powered cannon arm, Nagant shoots a bullet at Overhaul, and as she does so, she comments about how much she hates the hero education, and that only when a person dies because of Deku's mistakes will he understand its problems. With a bullet now torpedoing at ungodly speeds towards Midoriya's one-time arch-nemesis, Nagant predicts that Deku will start to overthink and begin to hesitate, giving her a chance to win. But to her surprise, there's not a single moment of hesitation in Midoriya's movements, as he immediately swings himself around a building corner using Black Whip, catapulting himself towards Overhaul. And it's also here where we finally get a full official description of the quirk Fa Jin. Fa Jin is a quirk that grants its user the ability to accumulate kinetic energy through repeated movements of a specific body part, and then when the user desires, they can release said energy explosively. Think of it like all of your body parts have a super meter. The more you move them around, the more energy builds up in them, and whenever the user wants, they can release this built up energy to perform one big super attack using said body part. So, while Midoriya was using his legs to avoid and kick Nagant's bullets in the last chapter, he was secretly building up the energy in them, and now he's able to release all of that built up energy in one super powerful kick, which he uses alongside Black Whip and 45% of One For All to propel himself with absolutely insane speed towards Overhaul. As Midoriya rockets towards the soon-to-be newest victim of our Sniper Queen, he comments on how his movements are almost identical to that of All Might's in his prime, and he calls this mix of 45% of One For All and Fa Jin pseudo 100%. And right before Nagant's bullet reaches Overhaul, Midoriya manages to just barely make it to him in time, and he pushes Overhaul to the ground, avoiding the bullet. Now I gotta say, I actually really like this idea of Midoriya being able to essentially use 100% of One For All in one short burst. The stipulation that he has to charge up the power with movement before he can use it is far more interesting than just, oh, he broke some bones, but it doesn't really affect him in any way. To be honest, they should have brought this pseudo 100% into the series far sooner. It would feel far more satisfying knowing that Midoriya has to build up this power to use it, and it would make the scenes where he does use 100% far more tense, because we know he only really has one shot at it, unlike when he uses his bones, which he seems to be able to break endlessly. By the way, for anyone wondering, pseudo 100% just means fake 100%, meaning that by combining the power One For All and Fa Jin, Midoriya temporarily gains the strength equivalent to that of 100% of One For All. Now, whether this power is actually equal in strength to 100% of One For All, or if it's just another 1,000,000% scenario where Midoriya is just hyping himself up, is unclear. But I like to think that it's equal. But anyway, after Midoriya saves Overhaul's life, Nagant reveals that she is impressed not only because of Deku's speed, but also because he started moving in Overhaul's direction at the exact moment she aimed her rifle at him. And as Midoriya flies by Chisaki telling him that they aren't finished, he catches onto the building edge with Black Whip, and he slingshots himself back towards Nagant. As Midoriya performs this action, the third user of One For All's vestige then appears, and notes that previously Deku's body received damage after using multiple quirks because he was using all of them at once. However, now he is only using 3 quirks, One For All, Fa Jin, and Black Whip, and his body seems to be able to handle this amount of power. The third user also reveals that when Midoriya rushed to save Overhaul, he only used the stored energy in his left leg. And with this, we see Midoriya's right leg illuminate with power as he once again launches himself with pseudo 100%, except this time he's headed straight towards Nagant. Lady Nagant, realizing that she has a human missile headed right towards her, begins to back away. But before she can even make her first move, Deku comes flying in and he hits her rifle arm with an attack he calls pseudo 100% Manchester Smash. That's right, Deku 100% smashed Lady Nagant. Wait, that didn't come out right. Unsurprisingly, Lady Nagant's right arm just fucking shatters after getting hit by this attack. And as Nagant loses her footing, she begins to plummet from the sky as Midoriya calls out that this fight is over. In the midst of free falling, Nagant thinks about how Deku did not even hesitate for even 1 second when he saw Chisaki, who's a villain, in danger. And as she continues to fall, she remembers what the chairman told her about using her quirk to make society better. And she reveals that she can't remember when exactly it was that she became sick of hearing this kind of lip service. But just as Nagant is about to fall to her death, Deku, like a goddamn national hero, reaches out to the very arm Nagant shot and grabs onto her now brutally broken rifle arm, preventing her from falling. Now, side note, this is actually a great callback to Deku's statement in the previous chapter about why society needs a helping hand now more than ever. Upon saving our wondrous waifu, Deku tells Nagant that the bullet she shot at Chisaki was going to miss, and he says that if she really fully supported All For One, she could have just shot her first bullet into his back. Deku finishes off this heroic speech by saying that Nagant still has the heart of a hero, and that because she has seen the dark side of hero society firsthand, she should know exactly where to shine the light the brightest. And he asks her to join him and the others in their fight against All For One. Hearing these words, Nagant begins to show a genuine smile, and she goes to tell Deku that he is a true hero. However, before she can do so, her body begins to crackle with energy, and our sweet, sweet Lady Nagant explodes.
Why?
We then get a quick flash over to All For One, who notes how people's hearts are fluid, and so he made sure to be fully prepared for a scenario in which Lady Nagant breached her contract. You son of a bitch, I'll kill you! I'll kill— Mr. Potato Head McFuckface then comments on how Nagant was nothing more than a tool for other people to use until the very end. But that's what she gets for having such a great quirk. God, I hate him. And as the story cuts back and we see the burned and broken body of the waifu to end all waifus plummet towards the ground, the chapter ends as the number 2 hero, Mr. Chicken Man himself, Hawks, leaps in and catches Nagant midair, exclaiming, "Don't die on me, senpai," revealing that Hawks' wings and feathers have started to grow back. Overall, it was actually a really enjoyable chapter. As I mentioned at the start of of this video, I thought the flashback scene with Overhaul and Lady Nagant was very well executed. Lady Nagant showing us her quirk's true strength was both disgusting in goriness and in how even more badass she can be. I mean, she shot a bullet that could almost match the speed of a 100% powered Midoriya. That dude literally turned into lightning the last time he went that fast. The explanation of Fa Jin was well needed, although I am surprised they didn't just explain what it did when the quirk was revealed. It also seems like a really cool new ability in terms of one for all. It doesn't feel like it's going to make Midoriya overpowered, well, more so than he already is of course, but it also feels like a natural advancement for basic one for all. As for the conclusion of Lady Nagant and Midoriya's fight, it's not surprising at all that Midoriya won, but it was satisfactory nonetheless. Plus, having Midoriya being forced to use what is essentially 100% of one for all to beat her is a great compliment to Lady Nagant as a character in both terms of how she was viewed as a threat and her fierceness. Nagant having a change of heart at the very end of the fight was kind of expected, as there were hints of her true heroic nature sprinkled throughout the conflict. As for Lady Nagant's death, as much as I absolutely adore, and you know I fucking adore her character, it would actually be a very fitting end for her. Although Horikoshi has been known to show some restraint when it comes to killing off characters. RIP Midnight and Night Eye, you will be missed. So you never know. She mightn't be a big player in this final arc, but she could get a second chance. Also, it will be interesting to see what exactly happens with Overhaul now. Will they bring him to the boss in exchange for info on All for One, or will he run off and go rogue? But let me know what you think of this chapter. If you like this video, don't forget to leave a like and comment what you think is going to happen next. For more My Hero content, subscribe to the Lunchtime crew. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Plus Ultra.